Good morning, folks. This is Jen Espinosa-Goswami coming to you live from my page over at Be Weightless. If you're joining me today, then please say hi in the comments. By the way, while I am in my car, I am parked. I am not driving, so there are no dangers here. I'm not putting anyone else in danger. I'm not driving. Just because I'm behind the wheel doesn't mean I'm driving, so don't worry about that. But today I wanted to pop on live and talk to you a little bit about what do you eat with? And when I ask that question, I don't mean, do you eat with a spoon or a fork? Because, when it comes to your health, there's so much more involved than the tools that you're using to eat. We're going to be talking instead about whether you actually eat with your mouth. Some of us do, some of us don't. We'll talk about that. And what it is that you're actually eating with instead, and small and simple techniques to kind of get you over the hump in terms of your health goals, depending on how you eat. Are you ready to get started? I'm super excited about this morning if you don't notice. Happy Friday, by the way. I'd love to know down below if you're joining me live or on the replay. Yes, I do comment on all my replays as well. Let me know what you're up to this Friday, how you're feeling, what you got going on for your weekend. I'm very excited to hear more about what's going on with you. I'm very excited because this is the final weekend before I start Let It Go, which is my 6-week group coaching program, and that starts on Monday. Officially, we start on Monday, but our calls are actually on Tuesday afternoon. So there's still time for you to get in. Comment below with Let It Go if that's something you'd like more information on. Our first round was amazing and fabulous, and I am welcoming back some repeat clients from that round of Let It Go. And this round is going to be even better because we're going to have more of a focus on exercise. The first round was more on kind of getting started with the right goals, and now we're going to focus a little more on exercise this round. So super excited about that. And when I say exercise, I don't mean join a gym and get started there. I mean things you can do at home, things that are very easy for you, no matter what level you're at right now, because I respect the fact that people are at different physical fitness levels. I'm not expecting anyone to be at the same place, and that's why this group program is very exceptional, because we meet you where you are, and we still have an opportunity to get together as a group and discuss our wins and also our challenges. So let me know if you're interested in joining that group. It's a super fun experience. I love it. My clients have been loving it. So let me know if you want to join us and love it yourself. Now, let's talk about itchy nose. Let's talk about what you eat with. And you may be like, well, duh, I eat with my mouth, or I eat with my stomach, or what have you. That's actually not true. Some of us eat with other senses. For example, we might eat with our eyes. We might eat with our ears. Some of us might eat with our muscles. So those are the 3 types of eating that I'm going to go over today, because I have about 10 or 15 minutes to share with you this morning. And then we'll talk about how to kind of address those different ways of eating and how we can help eat less food so that we can actually reach our health goals, because it's possible. And I want to make sure this is applicable to everyone who's watching today. So first of all, let's talk about those who eat with their mouth. Because logistically, you're like, we all eat with our mouth, right? It starts in our mouth, we chew, and then we swallow. Here's what I mean when I say we eat with our mouth. There are certain people who are turned on or turned off by the way things that feel in our mouth. And if you have a child who has sensory issues, this is not new to you. If you yourself are a picky eater, this is definitely not new to you either. But basically the idea of eating with your mouth, there are some people who actually have more taste buds on their tongue. So they actually are more sensitive to different tastes. They're called super tasters, and there are some food industry folks who employ them to sample certain foods and get an idea of whether it's a good flavor to introduce to the public. There are lots of good places for super tasters to go. Unfortunately, because they have more of a sensitivity to taste, they might dislike very strong flavors or very certain textures, certain temperatures of food. So comment below if you feel that you're someone who eats with your mouth. Like if texture, taste, temperature seem to be the all-important thing for you when it comes to eating. Some ways you can understand if you are someone who eats mostly with your mouth. Maybe you avoid certain foods specifically because of their texture. I know some people who refuse to eat cottage cheese because of the chunky pieces in it. I love cottage cheese. I don't eat it right now, but I love it. So for me, I'm not a mouth eater. I don't eat with my mouth. I also tend to love spicy foods and love foods that have a kick or a surprise to them. I like bitter foods and sour foods. So I'm definitely not someone who eats with their mouth. If you're someone who avoids really spicy foods, or you avoid really sour things, you dislike bitter things like arugula or Sour Patch Kids, for lack of any other examples right now, you're not a big fan of citrus, that might be an indication that you eat with your mouth. So again, understanding how you eat gives you an idea on how you can change your eating habits. So if you're someone who eats with your mouth, and texture and taste and all those things are really important to you, then what's even more important for you is finding a program that takes that into account. One of the biggest frustrations I had when I was trying to pursue my own weight loss journey, and that was over 20 years ago, so it's been a while for me, but I've certainly had different dietary challenges throughout the past, I would say 2 or 3 years, and understanding that I don't have a problem with eating with my mouth and I'm not sensitive to certain tastes and textures has been helpful for me. There is one thing that I'm sensitive to in terms of textures. I don't like raw veggies, and it's not the crunch so much as it gets stuck in my teeth. Excuse me. So I also have issues with chia seeds. Chia seeds are super healthy for you. They're amazing. They're a superfood. They're a good source of protein. They have lots of vitamins and nutrients that you can't get from other food sources. I don't eat chia seeds because they get stuck in between my teeth. Yeah, and I don't like that. And then they start getting gelatinous in my teeth, and I don't like that feeling. So that's one food that I avoid, even though I know it's a good food for me. You might have a food that you avoid because you just don't like the way it sits in your mouth, or the way it's on your tongue, or how it hits the back of your tongue. There are various foods that you probably avoid for specific reasons because of the mouthfeel, and that's really important to understand. If you're one of the people who eats with your mouth, comment below here, because I did write a very fun article, actually, which includes super tasters and having more taste buds and mouthfeel folks. And I'd be happy to share that article with you if that's something you're interested in. It's called The Picky Eater's Guide to Healthy Eating. It helps you address some of those concerns. So if that's something you want to see more about, just comment below this video and say, please share your article with me on picky eating. Because usually you will be a person, if you eat with your mouth, you're probably a person who is a bit of a picky eater. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being a picky eater. Nothing wrong with being a picky eater. What other things do we eat with? I mentioned that some of us eat with our eyes. If you're on Instagram, if you're on Twitter, maybe a little bit less on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, you will see tons and tons of food porn. If you watch any sort of TV, if you watch commercials, because at least 90% of commercials are around food. If you're driving down the highway and you see a billboard of a big, juicy hamburger, like humongous hamburger, there's like cheese dripping down the side, and there's like sauce, and it's perfectly placed lettuce and tomato, and you suddenly start salivating, then you're probably eating with your eyes. If you keep liking people's posts on social media with their food porn, oh, this is what I cooked up for dinner tonight, and it's a beautifully presented masterpiece, then you probably eat with your eyes. So my daughter, she's an artist, which means she's very conscious of details. She's very conscious of colors. She has words for colors that I'm like, it's blue. She's like, no, it's eggshell blue. Or no, it's cerulean blue. I'm like, it's blue. Like, I don't see those details like she does. So she pays more attention to those things. And I think that's why, part of the reason why, that she loves sushi so much. Because sushi is not just a really healthy food and really good ingredients and wholesome ingredients. It is also a visual feast. Right? You get that bowl of sushi and it's very carefully constructed. It's plated to be visually appealing to you. There are beautiful colors involved. It is a visual feast. If that's what appeals to you, and it becomes a whole experience at that point, and you feel like you're satisfied just looking at really beautiful food, then you're probably someone who eats with your eyes. Now, the particular challenge with this is we have messages and visions and visuals of food all around us. It is everywhere. Like I mentioned, you're driving down the highway, you might see an advertisement for some restaurant or food. You could be watching TV and every other commercial is about ordering pizza. And maybe you find yourself eating out at restaurants a lot because it's not just the food and the visual of the food, but the setup in the environment around that food. So maybe you like to go to restaurants that have the proper, salad fork and the regular fork and the knife on the certain side and the water glass and the wine glass. It's all about the presentation for you. So maybe you find yourself inclined to go to restaurants where that's the case rather than eating at home. So maybe it's not necessarily a convenience thing for you. Hi, make sure to say hi in the comments so I can see who's joining us. Maybe for you, it's not so much the feast at the restaurant so that you don't have to cook at home, but it's the feast of the atmosphere. Then you probably eat with your eyes. And again, it's a challenge because everywhere. There's food everywhere. There's pictures of food everywhere. There are people sharing what they eat for lunch every day on social media. There are people who take a lot less time in visually presenting their food at home than we see in commercials and the ideal of what food should be, right? Like people will post their beautiful drinks stacked with a bunch of food and things sticking out of it, and that's a visual feast. Before you even get into that, it's also a feast in terms of physicality. You're eating a lot of food, but it's visually appealing to you, and that's what gets you. Then you eat with your eyes. Now, I did mention that you can also eat with your ears. What does this mean? So supposing you're listening to the radio, and there's a commercial that comes on, and it's like, sink your teeth into Wendy's newest, I'm just giving an example, into Wendy's newest buttery baked potato loaded with bacon and sour cream and chili, home style chili. Like they start getting into this amazing description and you're listening to it and you find yourself salivating. You might have appeal for listening. You might be eating with your ears. Another way this might come out is if you are talking about what you should be having for dinner. This conversation happens all the time. I have a family. I know how that works. But maybe you're talking about what to have for dinner. And you start saying, well, we could make sesame chicken with extra rice and you start describing it. And just describing it gives you some sense of pleasure. Then you probably eat with your ears. The whole point of talking about what you eat with is to understand that what you eat does not begin and end with food. It can begin and end with other senses and other descriptions before you've even started preparing anything. Until you understand what you're eating with, you can't understand how to eat better or how to improve your habits when it comes to eating. Because you don't really understand that about yourself. You don't really understand what motivates you when it comes to food. One of the last things ways you can eat with that I'd like to talk about, because it comes up a lot for me and for my clients, is eating with your muscles. What? Do you eat with your muscles? Raise your hand if you think you do. What this means, if you are, if you participate in exercise regularly, you're in the fitness industry, what have you, you might have heard the term muscle memory. Basically, this idea is the more you do a certain action physically, the more your muscles get into the habit of doing that. And there's a kind of memory that builds into those muscles. It's a physical habit at that point. So when you don't do it, not only do they feel the lack of it, but they want to keep doing it. The same exists when it comes to eating. You can eat with your muscles because if you are a mindless muncher, if you overeat, and portion control is very difficult for you. If you constantly attach a different habit with eating, for example, going to the movies and having a bowl of popcorn. It's a very common one, but you're eating with your muscles because your muscles have that memory of establishing that habit at one point in your life, and you don't know how to get out of that. Guess what? I can help you get out of that. I used to eat upwards of 4,000 calories a day. I don't do that anymore, but it took me over a year to retrain myself, retrain my muscle memory, because I ate with my muscles. I ate to some extent with my eyes, not with my ears so much. But, it takes some time to get over that and to address that properly. And it had nothing to do with having access to recipes. It had nothing to do with eating more salad. It had a lot to do with my muscle memory, because I ate from habit. I ate from established patterns that I had in my childhood, and it was tough for me to get out of that. If that's the situation you're in today, I would like to talk to you because this is a really important thing to address. If you address nothing else in your life in terms of your health, this is something that's really important for you. Really, really important. and I will help you with this in Let It Go. I mentioned that Let It Go is a group coaching program. We start on Monday. You get 6 weeks of goal setting. If your only goal is to address that muscle memory you have and that memory you have for eating and overeating, I can help you get there in 6 weeks' time. But what we do is we focus on very specific goals that make sense for you. Not for the next person, not for someone you just met. That doesn't matter. You don't need to concern yourself with what other people's goals are, but you do concern yourself with your specific goal, and I will support you with a goal that makes sense for you based on what I know about you and what you've shared in the group. And we will get you to a place where you feel better. Whether that's, you're eating more consistently, you're eating healthier foods, you're exercising more frequently. I mean, we can address a lot of things. You can get more sleep. You can start eating breakfast. I have some people who don't eat breakfast, and they start eating breakfast after a few weeks of working with me. That's a really important habit that most people kind of throw to the side. We do this within weekly phone calls, training calls, where half of the phone call will be an accountability check. I will check in with you, see where you're at with your goal. And I'm very specific. I'm very direct and to the point. Did you reach this? What were your challenges? What were your questions? We will go through this every week. Plus, we will have a half an hour dedicated to training. So if I notice that a number of people in the group are saying, I just can't figure this out. I can't figure out why I'm overeating. I don't understand how to reduce the stress in my life. We will address that specific thing. I cater this program to the people who are in the program. So that's what makes it very unique and very special. And then you also get recipes. So if you're someone who's like, well, I eat for these reasons, and I understand that, but I just don't know what else to eat, or how to shift what I'm eating, or how to eat less restaurant food and to eat more home food, I support you with meal plans, and we have a different dietary focus every week. So if you're like, well, I only eat keto or paleo or whatever, I will provide something that you can use, and you can use well for the course of our time together. I can't guarantee that you'll always have a recipe that you like, but I can guarantee you that I'll provide a full week's worth of recipes. So even if you only do 1 week's worth of recipes, you're good to go for that program, because you can still rotate the same recipes. Make it easy, not hard. And then I also provide gym-free fitness tips. So if you're like, well, I already go to the gym, I got my gym game on. That's cool. But what are you doing outside of the gym? You can't make up for 24 hours of sitting if you're only doing half an hour workout, a couple times a week. There are other things you can do to incorporate more movement in your life. We're meant to move. We're humans. So I will help you identify what that looks like for you with easy tutorials, no additional equipment. We'll get you there. I specialize in home fitness, by the way. I love it. So that's what you get within Let It Go. We start on Monday. It's a 6-week program, so we go through April. And I would love to encourage you to consider this, or comment below if you have any questions or you're not quite sure if it's right for you, because I don't want you to jump into something where you're like, hey, I want you to feel like, yes, I got this, and I know exactly what I need to do, and I'm ready to take your support, because it's hard, right? It's hard to get the kind of support and ask for the kind of support that you need. You don't have to ask unless you have questions about whether it works for you. It can work for everyone. It has worked for everyone that I've worked with. So I'm so excited to hear more about you and what it is you're working on and what you eat with. Do you eat with your mouth, your eyes, your ears, or your muscles? Either way, comment below this video. Again, if you're watching the replay, make sure you say hi and share your comments with me. I would love to connect with you. In the meanwhile, enjoy your Friday and have a great weekend. Take care.